Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm, back in the park. This time we're picking up where we left off, and I didn't even say it out loud, but I titled it the episode, Savor the Moment. Right, moment, momentum, so that's just another phrase. Again, we're showing the connection of logical separation, and there's a phrasing, savor the moment. Is sensorality is savory, you savor the moment, you save momentum to be more efficient. And so we're always relating back to our efficiency axiom. But what that mouth do? To all my ladies out there, what that mouth do? But literally, why and when does the tongue leave the mouth? What syllables, when you pronunciate or enunciate a sound, some of them cause your tongue to literally leave the mouth? Not really sure what the intuition was there for, but I definitely had it. It's like there's some sort of consistency as to what sounds, what syllables cause you to leave the mouth, again, based on the geometry of your anatomy. What's the relationship of moments and momentum? Obviously really close linguistically, right? If you have a lot of good moments, they produce momentum, right? A snapshot, right? Can you really have a snapshot or a moment? It's a snapshot in time. It's just an individual piece, but it's not like nothing ever stops. So like, what is a moment? But good moments produce momentum. What is mentality? So it's very clear, sentimentality, if you just take off the senti, again, that I is doing some function I can't formalize, but mentality is something people say. Right, if I said, oh my days, lad, that's mental, bruv, right? It's something slang they say in England, so that would make a lot of sense in America too, if you say you're mental. But it's a lot more, I'd say, colloquial in England than in America, the United States. But if somebody says that's mental, they're calling you crazy. And so just extending from last time, what is mentality? The slang, again, slang usage is calling you crazy or insane. So insanity is crazy, mental is crazy. What is molarity? This is an interesting one. I actually just messed that up. I was going to do something else. I was going to ask you if you've ever heard of molecularity, right? Molecules with arity at the end. You were supposed to say no, and I was going to say yes, you've heard of molarity. Because molarity is molecularity, literally, right? If you Google what is molarity, moles, Avogadro's number, they'll say it's elementary entities. And so, but it's of molecules is the next operative word that will come up on your screen. And so if you put molecule, what's a molecule? Well, it's a collection of atoms. Well, what's an entity, right? That's another thing, another one of these really general words, a thing, an it, an entity, right? A legal entity, you'll say that, a business entity. So an entity is a thing. But why is molarity interesting to me? Again, just some basic chemistry terminology, right? Mole is still the base of molecule. And so molecularity is molarity, literally, linguistically, physically, chemically. Everything that's represented there is the same, just again, different letters. And so, but what is molarity? It's the moles of a solute per liter of solution, right? So solution, your solvent is what dissolves something. Your solute is what is being dissolved. Your solution is both of those things combined. And so your molarity, the operative word, is you're calculating a concentration. How much of this thing is dissolved in this thing? And you do that by total moles. But why does a mole exist? 6.02 times 10 to the minus 23rd elements. Right, so what is that really, why does that emerge? Why is that efficient to have that entity, that calculation, that number, right? It's because it's a dynamic limit, right? That's another one of these fundamental physical constants, which physically nothing is constant. And so mathematics has to evolve to accommodate that. We've derived the dynamic limit. We went through that in its entirety. And so the mole is just the another specific example of the dynamic limit. But like, what is going on there, right? 10 to the minus 23rd, right? If the beginning of the universe or whenever, like there's some sort of size or scale or fracticality thing going on where it's indiscriminate of size, but it's like at what size can we treat another galaxy as a point particle, right? Like we clearly can, and then at certain distances we clearly can't. So what's going on there at the actual gray areas? But for a mole, it's clear that there's some sort of this proportion of 6.02 times 10 to the minus 23rd elementary entities is indicative of some sort of proportionality, of some sort of size limit, some sort of reversal of the shell theorem where everything inside a given layer acts as a point particle. It's like, what is going on with a mole? It's some sort of something going on there. But a solution just equals the total solute plus the solvent, which another thing that was very interesting to me is what is a limiting reagent in chemistry? And just whatever, if you have two substances, I don't know, hydrogen and oxygen, you know, you need H2O, so you need 2 parts hydrogen for 1 part oxygen to make water. So if you have, again, I'm not gonna do a calculation right here, but if you have, you know, too much water, not enough or too much hydrogen and not enough oxygen, your oxygen's your limiting reagent. And so there was some, when I first went to school in high school, still now, there's a lot of intuition as to why moles exist, why those are useful. It's some sort of size limit, proportionality thing. It's literally molecularity, a molecule, but it is a natural definition. Because right now, like, see, this is like chemistry. Everyone say it's scientific. No one's going to debate that. But you have a rigorous physical definition of a solution, right? You weren't thinking math, now you are, right? So in mathematics, you have solutions. Well, in chemistry, you have solutions. They're not different, right? What is a solution now in mathematics? It dissolves something, or it resolves, right? Resolve, dissolve, solve. It's like the same shit. It's literally the same thing used in different contexts, but it's drawing from the physical intuition, right? The atom, then the Brad, right? I can't exist unless atoms existed, right? Chronology is this huge factor. People just kind of cause and effect. People mix up by like 450 million years, which is pretty stupid. But why do moles exist? In molarity is molecularity. But what is an entity? An entity is a thing, but entity, entitlement. Right, we derived the word title, and we're deriving all of these words. We've built enough context where you have to introduce language with language, but now we've derived these words. And so title, entitlement, I forget what we connected that to, but what's a molecule to an atom, right? Is there a difference? If I have a molecule of hydrogen, if I have a molecule of water, and I have an atom of water, what's the difference between a molecule and an atom? None. There isn't one, right? So it's like we have these different words for different contexts, but it's still fundamental science, right? A molecule is an atom. One molecule of hydrogen is 1 proton. That's 1 atom. It's the whole thing. Just different ways to say the same shit. Savor, right? Savor the moment. Now here's our elusive I, right? Save, savor, savior. Savoir in French, to know, or to have. J'ai savoir, I have having. Yeah, no, that's why am I mixing that up? No, avoir is having. So I don't know why I mixed that up, wow. But savoir is knowing. Why am I blanking on this? What is going on? I'm blanking on, the words are dissolving in real time, but you get what I'm saying. It's the French word savoir, je sais, right? Connaître versus savoir, knowing in its being state, être, savoir être, knowing being. Right, a person is a knowing being. That's what an entity is. Again, some super French people are coming in here, I don't know where. But sensorality concentrates. Sensorality centrates. Sensorality restricts. If you censor something, you restrict it. Speciality is derangement, right? If you're mental, bruv, you're deranged, mate. And so, yeah, just continue our definitions. Derangement is chaoticality. If you're chaotic, you're deranged. You're unpredictable, you're unstable, you're insecure. Speciality, chaoticality. What is effervescence, right? Oh, it's bubbling, it's fizzing. But look at the word, right? See how it's efferve and then it's sense again? Right? Sensorality is effervescent. Literally, it's a natural definition. But sensorality bubbles, sensorality is bubbly. And I think about that word as you use it. Like, they have a bubbly personality. That person, that girl is bubbly. Right? What are you saying? Is she a gas? Is she a gaseous material? Right? Or a rap song popping that bubbly. Right? So we have all this attenuation to these fundamental physical processes. Bubble, effervescent. How does a bubble relate to a scent? Sense. You can sense bubbles. Soaring, bubbling, again, another one of those where you chop off the E and it's like, why does that, it just contracts, it just like goes away. Sensorality is bubbly. Sensorality is effervescent. Soarality, so now again, sensorality, that's our starting theorem. I just described exactly what I'm saying. Sensorality is effervescent. We're trying to isolate and identify what sensorality is in its fundamental definition. Effervescent, we already have a good definition. Scent, right? And so we go from effervescence to effervescent. See how that T creates a full, complete word. Effervescence, S-C-E-N-C-E, is not a complete word. You have to iterate the C with the S to get senses, or sense. But if you just chop it down to the T, you have a complete word. So now, again, like we're limiting sensorality with its natural definition thing. But we can just take that sensorality is effervescent down to soarality is scent. It's all we're doing is literally just chopping off prefixes. Literally, that's it. Scentality, senses, right? Is scent a sense? Yes. That's where we're at with this proof. You can't say no to that. Well, you can, but you're just objectively in denial. Sensality is sensorality. And so now what we very clearly hear, so we just remove that sen, sality is soarality. And the only difference in that word is or. Literally just remove or from soarality and you have sality. Saliting, that is our like fundamental base thing that we're getting at. Sality. But we just remove the or, because that's a complete word, we can remove it. Like I said, I typically don't go all the way down to the prepositions, but for an axiomatic proof, you have to. But now we can finally take out that or of sensorality and just say sality. Sality, salinity. Right? Salinity is a form of sality. Sensorality is saline. Like line, S-A, line, right? So we're just still, all we're showing you is we're still with a basic geometric object, a line, and now we've just put a prefix on it, literally, saline, literally. Soarality is salinality, however you want to say it, saline with ality at the end, take off the E, salinality. Line, saline. Soarality is salinity. So soarality is salt. Speciality raises voice, sensorality lowers. Just another random encompassing thing trying to differentiate speciality and sensorality. But that is very poignant, that section I just walked you through, syllable by syllable, prefix by prefix, is because we've reduced sensorality in its entirety to its base form, sality. The letter S and then ality. Right? There's no words in between that. It's just it's a one letter as a prefix and then a suffix. So again, once again, we're very close. We're going to expand out sality now. So we have to break down the word, expand the word, and at some point in that process, that's when we get our stabilizing theorem, which solidifies all of these things. But all that point is sentality senses. That is when we switched the direction of sensorality. But you can't say scent is not a sense, right? Literally, physically, linguistically, there's no debate. Moving on, thank you for watching. See you on the next one.